Hello, this is Vivica Williams, and you're watching Head to Head. Recently, Russia attacked Ukrainian ships in the Kerch Strait near the Sea of Azov. The EU, NATO, and the UN have all reacted to Russia's blatant aggression. They also confirmed their support for the territorial integrity and sovereignty of the country. To discuss the Russian threat in the Azov and Black Seas and how Ukraine can counteract it, we welcome to the studio today Anton Korynevych, an international legislation expert. Hello, and thank you for being with us today.
Thank you.
So let's jump right into this issue. Now, what we're talking about today is, of course, Russia's aggression in the Azov and Black Sea that occurred on Sunday. And let's talk a bit about the incident itself. Can you give us a breakdown on what happened, what was claimed by Russia, what actually happened, and what evidence that we have, other than video, that can show and demonstrate the truth of what occurred?
Well, I think that a lot of citizens of Ukraine watched online or read the news about this situation, and this was really a main topic, main issue of the Sunday's night in Ukraine. So all started on the 23rd, I think, November, when 3 Ukrainian Navy ships, 2 of which are the fight ships, started to move from Odessa to Mariupol. That is, you know, Odessa and Mariupol are 2 Ukrainian ports, one situated on the Black Sea, another on the Sea of Azov. And our ships wanted to actually perform the freedom of transition through the Kerch Strait, which is our right, according to the treaty of the Sea of Azov, which is a bilateral treaty between Ukraine and the Russian Federation. So the issue was that our ships wanted to enter the Sea of Azov through the Kerch Strait and then to go to the Mariupol Navy base, which is to be established there soon. Right. So all the issue arose that the Russian Federation started to say that the Ukrainian ships violated international law by moving to the territorial sea of the Russian Federation near Crimea, and then that Ukrainian ships wanted to commit a violation of international law by illegally passing the Kerch Strait beside the Kerch Bridge, and that all these actions were illegal, though of course we in Ukraine understand that these allegations are not right, and that actually the Russian Federation tries to make a good face, taking into account that it really conducted and acted as an aggressor state in this very case.
So because the strait we're talking about, and so I'm sure we'll see this on a map, which we'll have, is and which our viewers can see, the Kerch Strait is quite a narrow passage, and the area between here was it's about 12 kilometers, is that right? From
something like that.
Something from occupied Crimea. And this area is considered, through this pass, international waters.
Well, this is called Kerch Canal, and it is right now, if you look at the map or at the photos, this Kerch Canal is just beneath the main arc of Kerch Bridge. So under international law, of course, Crimea is Ukraine, and territorial sea near Crimea is Ukrainian. But due to the factual situation of occupation, unfortunately now Russia does control both parts of the Kerch Strait, which is Crimea and Kerch on the one hand, and Tamань, Russian Federation on the other hand. So this Kerch Canal can be used freely by Ukraine and the Russian Federation, and it is provided for in Article 2 of the Treaty on the Sea of Azov, which has been signed and ratified by both Ukraine and the Russian Federation. So yes, Ukraine does have the right to enter the Sea of Azov through this Kerch Strait, but unfortunately it is the situation that Russian Federation does control this passage now, due to the fact that it controls both sides of the land.
Right, and also we see the construction of the Kerch Bridge has created another obstacle to this, which means it provides even a more narrow lane of travel for ships through the strait. And so what could we see as outcomes here by attacking? So basically we'll talk about the incident was 3 ships are attempting to pass through this area, and they were rammed by Russian ships. What was the statement they gave to explain this act of aggression?
Well, first of all, Ukrainian ships asked several times for a permission to come, to go through the Kerch Canal, through Kerch Strait, and the Russian Federation didn't give this right to Ukraine. And then Ukrainian ships did decide to turn back to Odessa. So actually, Ukrainian ships didn't try to assault or to enter into the Kerch Strait. When they finally understood that the Russian Federation will not give this access, will not grant this access, although of course these actions of the Russian Federation are illegal, they are in breach of the provisions of the Treaty on the Sea of Azov. But the Russian Federation didn't agree to give this passage, so the 3 Ukrainian ships decided to come back to Odessa, so they moved back to the Black Sea. And actually the Russian ships attacked them while they were on their way back to Odessa. So it's a kind of a strange situation, because the ships left the territory near the Kerch Strait, and there was really no threat to the Russian Federation or to the breach or to whatever. And this, of course, is really awkward, but nevertheless, from the point of view of international law, this is an act of aggression, and the Russian Federation really committed a very serious, grave violation of international law here.
And what do you see? What can we try to read in or try to hypothesize for the reasons for this escalation at this point?
Well, maybe the Russian Federation didn't like the first instance when Ukrainian ships moved through the Kerch Canal. We all remember this issue, the story with Kerch and Donbas Navy ships.
Right, they were followed very closely.
Very closely by the Russian
FSBs.
ships.
Right.
This Kerch and Donbas ships didn't have the serious armament, so they are not the battleships, but still they are part of Navy, and they moved through the Kerch Canal. And it's obvious that the Russian Federation didn't like this story, though Ukraine, again, under international law, does have the right to pass through this channel. If we talk about some political reasons for such a conduct of Russian Federation, it may be the case that the Russian Federation really wants to close the Sea of Azov for all the military activity of Ukraine. So, you know, to make it a kind of a lake, a closed one, and not to let Ukrainian ships, military ships, Navy ships, in and out.
So are they continuing to allow commercial vessels through the strait after this incident?
Well, officially commercial vessels are allowed to pass through the strait, but again, there are a lot of delays in this passage, so the Russian Federation delays this right to entry and the right to leave the Kerch Strait and the Sea of Azov, and the Russian Federation commits a lot of, let's say, checks of these ships. And this
delays that they call checks,
and this is an economic burden for enterprises, for entrepreneurs. So officially, the commercial ships can go here and there, but again, delays and these security checks, so-called, they make this economic burden. Of course,
more than millions. I mean, it's been reported it's $5 billion since the start of this type of activities. And since this incident on Sunday, the 25th, have commercial ships been allowed to pass through the strait, to your knowledge?
We need to look at this.
So it's not quite clear at this moment.
It's not too clear, and all the Ukrainians, we are now like focusing on the story with our 3 ships, which are now in Kerch, and our 24 sailors, which are now being interrogated by the
And this is definitely something to discuss right now. So we have the 3 ships, 2 of which were captured by and boarded. So continue to tell us a bit more about the incident after the ships were blockaded and attacked by the Russian ships.
So actually, when our Ukrainian Navy ships started to leave, started to go back to Odessa, they were attacked by several ships of the Russian Coast Guard, which is a part of FSB, Federal Security Service of the Russian Federation. So that Russian ships were bigger, with bigger number of people there, with bigger guns. So 2 of our ships, namely Yanikapu and Berdyansk, were had injuries, and that is why they couldn't move. And so then they were like assaulted by the special forces to go there.
So they were boarded. Ukrainian sailors now are unfortunately held captive, and in some cases have been called prisoners of war, though this is not being called a war, but that they have been likened to prisoners of war.
Well, I think this is a very important issue here to discuss, because yes, Ukrainian sailors are prisoners of war, and they have and they shall have all the rights and freedoms under the Third Geneva Convention on the Treatment of the Prisoners of War. This is a very important issue for Ukrainians to understand, that even though war was not declared neither by Russian Federation nor by Ukraine, we have the state of armed conflict between Russian Federation and Ukraine. We have occupation of Crimea, which is an international armed conflict. And since we have these facts, we can say that our sailors are prisoners of war, and the Russian Federation has a lot of obligations to fulfill to secure their rights and freedoms.
And unfortunately, we're out of time. We could continue this discussion for quite some more time. We'd like to have you back on, and we will continue this discussion with you very, very soon in the future.
Thank you. My pleasure.
Thank you very much. And that was Anton Korynevych, international legislation expert. Thank you for watching, and stay tuned with UATV for more.